Welcome back to Vegas, everybody. I'm Matt Perrault from SB Nation Radio here for PlayPicks.com. Time to make some more college football picks. We've actually been off to a really good start, 18-10 so far. More on that here in a second, but remember, PlayPicks.com/bonus. PlayPicks.com/bonus. That's for all the best New Jersey online sports books and those great signups for no deposit bonuses. Very, very cool. PlayPicks.com/bonus. Now, 18-10 on our picks. Our leans are okay, 3-5. A pick is where my money is going. A lean is what I think is going to happen. So you can play the leans if you want, but I'm not 100%. I'm not putting my money there, just what I think might happen. I am putting my money on the things I'm picking. 18-10 so far in college football is a pretty good mark. Let's start with the game in the SEC. That's the game of the week in the SEC. It would have been the game of the weekend, but Florida unfortunately beat LSU. So LSU now at home taking on Georgia. Now this game would, in my mind, we would learn a lot more about both these teams if LSU was undefeated. They're not. They're now angry. Bounce back game for LSU in front of their home crowd, their biggest home game of the year, with number 2 Georgia coming into their building. How good's Georgia? We are here in mid-October. In October, Georgia hasn't played a ranked team yet. In the SEC, to not have played a ranked team yet is pretty surprising. The schedule for them gets much more difficult from here on out. They have 4 games in 5 weeks, all against ranked opponents, a bye week mixed in, but they'll start with LSU this week. Then they play Florida, Kentucky, and Auburn. We will know about Georgia once this whole thing is over. We'll have an idea as how good these Bulldogs really are. For LSU, this point spread's a big deal for me. The hook matters. I'm okay at 7. I'm not as excited about 7 as I am about 7.5. If you get it at 7.5, play LSU plus a 7.5. Here is a really big key for this game. Joe Burrow, the quarterback, in the 2 very big wins for LSU. First against Miami and then on the road at Auburn. Burrow was good, not great, solid, consistent, didn't turn the ball over, didn't hurt his team. He must do the same thing against an opportunistic Georgia defense that's turned the ball over 1.5 times plus per game. Now, Georgia's done nothing to really make us question how good they are. They've played the schedule that's been in front of them, but this is a big step up in competition. I know they've got 2 quarterbacks that are very good. We'll probably see mostly from maybe a little Fields at some point, depending how the game goes, but from 12 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, having a very solid year. But for LSU, they got to run the ball. And they need Nick Brissett to be solid, pick up first downs, keep the football away from Georgia, and do a good job of just controlling the line of scrimmage. LSU's defense is really good, and they've been good in big moments against both Auburn and Miami. They've controlled the line of scrimmage. If they can do that against Georgia, very tough task, but if they can do that, they can win this game outright. Do I think they're going to? No, I don't. I mean, the Tigers' defense are giving up about 20 points per game. They got an emotional, loud Cajun fan base screaming behind them. 7.5. I am in on the LSU Tigers to cover that line at home against Georgia. I think Georgia wins. LSU loses by 1 score. Take the 7.5 points and lay it with LSU. Oh, by the way, Georgia 6-0 against overall, but only 3-3 against the number. That's big as well. 3-3 against the spread. All right, to number 2 we go. Wisconsin on the road at Michigan. Big game in the Big Ten. A lot of weird things have to happen. Michigan's going to beat Ohio State, but this could be a Big Ten title game preview. A lot of people are calling Wisconsin a pretender. This is a team who lost to BYU at home, even though some had picked them to make the playoffs, kind of a sleeper national championship type of pick. It has not worked out all that great for Wisconsin. I don't think they're a pretender. I just don't know how good they really are. The line here is quite large, +8 for Wisconsin, and in some ways, it's going up and up, depending on where you play it. You may get it at +8.5, maybe even 9 for Wisconsin. A lot of Michigan money coming in. They're a very public team. People love riding with Michigan. But this is a team that gives up yards, not points. They're kind of like the Patriots. So they've given up 16.5 points per game about this season, but they're giving up over 350 yards per game. Against Nebraska, a bad Nebraska team, winless, they gave up 407 yards. That's not good, but if you're not giving up touchdowns and making teams kick field goals, that's a recipe for an underdog to cover an 8-point line. Wisconsin is an offense with Alex Hornibrook that cannot turn the football over. They've got to find a way to throw the ball vertically because they're not going to run. On paper, this Michigan defense is the best defense in the country. They're number 1 in a variety of big categories, including giving up yards given up per game, yards given up per play, and they're 3rd given up on yards per pass, 3.5 yards per pass right now for this Michigan defense. It's going to be difficult to score, but if they can throw the ball vertically and make some big plays, Wisconsin can keep themselves in this football game. Michigan fans are waiting for a Jim Harbaugh win over a ranked opponent, a big win, a marquee win. This could be it, and everything is still really in front of Michigan. I mean, they could be the playoffs. They could run the table here and get to the playoffs. Kind of crazy, but that still kind of is in play here for Jim Harbaugh. I think Michigan wins. I don't think they cover. I think Wisconsin plus the 8 is the right side here. I think Wisconsin's going to keep the game close. You folks in Ann Arbor will leave happy, but give me the points with Wisconsin plus the 8. To the Pac-12 we go. And what do you make of Washington? So the Huskies came into the year with a ton of hype. They were a national championship contender, right? That defense, playmakers, defensive line. The problem is they don't get after the quarterback at all. And I think in this game with this quarterback for Oregon, I don't know if you can just sit there and say, hey, Jake Browning, you're going to go up and down the field on a pretty average Oregon defense, and there's going to be nothing on the other side happening to your defense. I disagree. I think Herbert and this offense for Oregon are going to have a really big game. I think they're going to put some big points up on the board. I think this is a shootout, but I think it's a one-score game, a back-and-forth game, and I actually think Oregon's going to pull the upset here. I'm not a big believer in Washington this year. And I know people say Chris Peterson last couple of years, Washington has banged up on Oregon. Well, so did Stanford. And then Stanford went up there to Oregon and had a real tough time and was gifted a win by Mario Cristobal by giving the football and fumbling the football away and then losing it in overtime. Oregon learns from their mistakes. I think they take care of business here. Washington and Jake Browning make some crucial errors. I like an outright win for the Oregon Ducks in front of their home crowd. I think there's going to be a ton of fun in this game. And I got 2 picks on this. It's a rivalry game. I got 2 plays. I'm taking Oregon plus the 3, and I'm also going with the over here at 58.5. I see a shootout coming, and that benefits Oregon. Low-scoring game benefits Washington. High-scoring game benefits Oregon. So if you're going with the Ducks, you got to go with the over as well on this one. And finally, kind of an off-the-beaten-path game, and I understand you might go, why are you picking West Virginia at Iowa State? Well, first, I used to work in Des Moines covering Iowa State, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for the Cyclones, but I also have seen this story before. Every year, Iowa State beats somebody in the Big 12 they're not supposed to. Last year, it was Oklahoma. It was, oh my gosh, they beat Oklahoma. This year, it's Oklahoma State. They went on the road, beat Oklahoma State last week. When the Cyclones have a big win like that, there's almost always a letdown. They get full of themselves. And then they come back home to see West Virginia and Will Greer, and they see an offense that they simply haven't seen before yet, or at least this year. Okie State's got a good offense, and I get it. Everybody in the Big 12 can score, but this team can really score. Will Greer can really play. Last week against Kansas, he threw 3 picks. They didn't cover. First time all year, West Virginia did not cover the spread. They're angry. Perfect recipe for the coaches to get on that team. They won big, but with 3 picks and not covering, an undefeated team gets whipped all week about you're going into Ames, tough place to play, rumors of black uniforms coming out for the Cyclones to fire up the student body. I'm curious to see how this game goes early. I think it's close early, but then too much talent for West Virginia. In the second half, they extend the lead and they don't look back. I do think it's a high-scoring game, though, because this Brock Purdy kid's pretty wild. He comes in, true freshman, on the road at Oklahoma State. He goes for 330. He went for 318 yards, 4 touchdowns, ran for nearly 100, and ran another one in. He can move the football. I think he'll move on an okay West Virginia defense, and that's why I've got 2 picks in this one. I'm taking West Virginia minus 6.5. And I'm taking the over in this game, over 55. Neither defense really all that great. Remember, the Big 12 may have to hang their hat on West Virginia to get into the college football playoffs. They have 0 real marquee wins, nothing sexy in the non-conference, but they play Oklahoma at the end of the year. Texas beat Oklahoma. Texas lost to Maryland. Both those teams with losses kind of cancel themselves out from the playoffs. West Virginia taking on Oklahoma. They win that game. Maybe there's some type of benefit if they're undefeated and everybody else has 1 loss that's looking at the 3rd and 4th final spot. I think you pretty much know Ohio State and Alabama are going to be in the national championship playoffs. Got 2 spots left. Who winds up getting a hold of that? We'll have to wait and see. But West Virginia might be in the running. They cannot afford to take anyone lightly. Got to put the foot down, put up big numbers, and style points matter. West Virginia wins this game by a couple of touchdowns in my mind on the road at Ames against Iowa State. So quick recap on our picks for this week. West Virginia -6.5 and the over 55. Taking Oregon plus the 3. We're leaning with the over at 58.5. If you want to play it, I do like it as well with the over at 58.5 in that game. Wisconsin plus the 7 on the road at Michigan. And then we're taking LSU plus 7.5. That hook is important for that game. If you don't get it, I don't love it. Buy the half a point if you have to get to 7.5. Remember, playpicks.com/bonus for all the best New Jersey online sportsbook signups and your great no deposit bonuses. I'm Matt Perrault from Estimation Radio. We're back next week for another pick segment. Best of luck on all your picks, and we'll talk to you next week.